Hello, good afternoon. The group, which represents most of the UK filling stations, has said the availability of fuel in London, the South East and parts of eastern England is getting worse. However, the Petrol Retailers Association had said Scotland, the north of England and parts of the Midlands had seen a distinct improvement. The government has announced that 100 military drivers will begin delivering fuel to petrol stations from Monday. Here's our business correspondent, Katie Austin.
There were queues for fuel again this morning in parts of southern England.
This is the first time I'm queuing up because my boy normally gets it for me. But today, oh my gosh.
The organisation, which represents independent forecourts, says the supply picture has improved in the Midlands, the north of England and into Scotland.
No problems at all. I've just put £100 in the van to keep us going for the week.
Well, a few days ago it was very hard, but I think it's starting to pick up a little bit now, you know.
But there's a warning the situation appears to be worsening in London and the South East.
We've been asking government, and I've had a long conversation with Grant Shapps this morning. It's very good. Government are talking closely to industry about the problems. And what I've asked him is that the prioritisation, all deliveries must now go to London and the South East and to the independent forecourt, which make up 65% of all forecourts across the UK.
200 military personnel have been called in to help with deliveries. 100 of them are drivers. They're currently training before the first cohort start properly on Monday.
The first big amount will be really working through this weekend, deploying in Monday, probably on their own more, and then by the end of the week another 60, 70 will come online.
This comes amid a chronic shortage of HGV drivers across the economy. Last weekend, visas were announced for 5,000 to come in from overseas, lasting until Christmas Eve. That includes 300 fuel tanker drivers. Now we know they will be able to start immediately, and the length of time they can stay in the UK has been extended to the end of March. 4,700 of the visas are for food lorry drivers. They won't be able to start until later this month, but the length of their stay has also been extended until up to the end of February. The government still says visas are only a short-term fix and businesses must invest in building the domestic workforce. Ministers insist the fuel situation will continue to improve if people buy only what they need. But even when supply levels return to normal, motorists are being told they should expect to pay more at the pump as wholesale prices rise. Katie Austin, BBC News.
Well, our political correspondent Nick Eardley is in Manchester, where Conservatives are gathering for their party conference, which opens tomorrow. Nick, has the government, or at least does the government think it has finally got this under control?
Well, that's the hope, Shaun, that the situation is continuing to stabilise, that there's much better fuel supply and that maybe not immediately, but over the medium term, this will start to get better. It's interesting, though, because we've also heard those warnings about what's going on in the south of England, and warnings like that have forced the government to make some decisions it didn't really want to make, like sending in the army to help from next week, like adding those extra 300 emergency visas to its plan over the next few weeks. Boris Johnson's been repeating this morning in the newspapers that he wants to make the HGV driver situation a lot better by getting more people from the UK into better paid jobs. That's going to be one of the themes at the Conservative conference when it kicks off on Sunday. But there's an interesting backdrop of the fuel supply issues, other issues in the supply chain, energy, lots of things for Conservatives to think about, some of it making some Tory MPs quite nervous.
Nick Eardley in Manchester, thank you. Vaccine passports came into effect for the first time in Scotland on Friday night. People need proof of vaccination to gain entry to nightclubs or to large events. The scheme the enforcement of the scheme will become mandatory from the 18th of October. It's being trialled at some football stadiums at Scottish Premiership matches this afternoon. Megan Patterson has more.
A night out in Glasgow. As well as showing ID on the door, vaccine passports too.
I do think some people will definitely be driven to get vaccinated in order to be able to participate in this kind of event.
It's definitely incentive, but my main reason is to be protected fully, obviously.
I don't agree with the whole concept of having to show something to get into a club. I don't agree with that in terms of freedom.
proof of 2 doses of vaccine. It'll be shown before people over 18 enter nightclubs and any event with more than 10,000 people in attendance. For some club owners, there's concern about what it means for customers.
It's a little bit disappointing, even though myself I'm double vaccinated, that there isn't an option for people who don't want to get vaccinated. We're not sort of respecting their opinions by being able to submit a negative lateral flow and then still being able to go to a nightclub. We're saying effectively, don't come.
At football grounds including Ibrox, today will be the first test of the COVID passport scheme at matches. The app's been plagued with technical problems in its first few days, and although it went live yesterday, it won't be enforceable until the 18th of October, causing confusion for clubs. Aberdeen have postponed the trialling of proof of vaccine for entry at Sunday's Scottish Premiership meeting with Celtic, and Hearts and Rangers say no one will be refused entry for failing to produce a vaccine certificate at their test events against Motherwell and Hibs. With access to the terraces, dance floors and elsewhere soon to be reliant on the vaccine passport, the Scottish Government's issued reassurances about the app's capacity, saying systems have been improved to better cope with demand. Megan Patterson, BBC News.
The Queen was addressing MSPs in Holyrood this morning to mark the opening of the 6th session of the Scottish Parliament. This will be the SNP's 4th consecutive term in government following their election win in May. Alexandra Mackenzie reports.
The Queen and the Duke and Duchess of Rothesay made the short journey from the Palace of Holyrood House to the Scottish Parliament. They were greeted by the party leaders, including the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. MSPs gathered as the mace and the crown of Scotland were placed in the chamber, symbolising this new session of Parliament.
Marking this new session does indeed bring a sense of beginning and renewal. The Scottish Parliament has been at the heart of Scotland's response to the pandemic, with people across this country looking to you for leadership and stewardship, and I hope you will remain at the forefront as we move towards a phase of recovery.
Due to the pandemic, much of the music was recorded around the country, like here in Plockton. And this group of asylum-seeking and refugee musicians in Glasgow.
Those of us who sit in this chamber will disagree, often and often very vigorously. But in the years ahead, we will also, I hope, find the resolve, indeed the courage, to reach beyond our disagreements and find consensus and common purpose where we can.
The Queen also used her speech to reflect on happy memories of the many times she spent in Scotland with her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. She said this was a time to look to the future and a new generation. Alexandra Mackenzie, BBC News.
Sport now, and at the BBC Sports Centre, it's Gavin Ramjan. Good afternoon to you, Gavin.
Yes, hi there, Shaun. Nice to see you. The winners of the early kick-off in the Premier League will go to the top of the table for a few hours at least. It's Manchester United against Everton, and it is still goalless. United have had the best chance so far. Cristiano Ronaldo has started a league match at Old Trafford from the bench for the first time in 14 years. 0-0 there. Britain's Cameron Norrie has enjoyed another impressive win. He's into the semi-finals of the San Diego Open after dropping just 4 games. Beating 4th seed Denis Shapovalov. Norrie's brilliant form of 2021 has stalled in recent weeks, but this victory took him into his 6th ATP semi-final of the year, where he'll face the top seed Andrei Rublev. And the London Marathon returns tomorrow with thousands of runners on the streets of the capital. Last year's event was limited to just elite athletes because of the pandemic, and many were forced to take part virtually. Mike Bushell has been speaking to some of those who've been preparing for the race.
It's finally back, the world-famous marathon that gets 40,000 people running together, all with individual stories and reasons why they're pounding the streets of London. Among the most emotional, Claire Nash and Wayne Flanagan, running in memory of their daughter Jade, who died in January this year, just 10 days after she was born. Both Claire and Wayne had tested positive for COVID-19 just days before Jade suffered unforeseen complications during her birth.
Immediately after Jade died, I started running as a way to kind of start to understand like my grief and the loss of Jade, and the emotions, and just felt so overwhelmed quite often. So as I started running more and more, I just realised like the benefits for me, my mental health, my well-being. So we are running it to raise awareness and funds for the people that cared for us and Jade during the time, so NHS and care workers.
There's going to be lots of tears and lots of smiles. We know that we're going to have a lot of friends cheering us on, so it'll be really special to see them. And I think the thing that's going to help push me through is obviously knowing that Jade's there, but hearing everybody shout her name as well. That's going to be really, really special.
Last year, over 37,000 people did run the marathon virtually on their own, wherever they could, joining in spirit and via their screens. And even though a similar number are signed up to do it again virtually this year, there's nothing like the real thing.
I truly believe that this is going to be one of the most emotional and memorable London marathons in the history of an event that's had some pretty special moments.
Whatever the reason or personal cause, the 40,000 runners tomorrow will once again have the love of the running community around them and the crowds helping them all the way to the finish line. Mike Bushell, BBC News.
Yeah, it will be great to see the crowds back. That is all the sport from us for now, Shaun.
Gavin, thank you very much. The next news on BBC One is at 5:10. Until then, from all of us, have a good afternoon.